What would you do if your child vanished inside a secure government building and no one, not even the security cameras, could prove he ever existed? What if the people in charge accused you of being unstable, dismissed your story, and erased every trace of what you know to be true? That's the terrifying premise of Extraterritorial, a gripping 2025 German action thriller that plunges us into a high-stakes web of conspiracy, trauma, and one mother's fight to uncover the truth. Set inside the legally untouchable walls of a US consulate, the movie opens on Sarah Wolf, a decorated former soldier from Germany's elite special forces. Years have passed since her final mission, but the horrors of war still live inside her. That mission, set in the war-torn landscapes of Afghanistan, ended in catastrophe. Her entire squad was ambushed, and Sarah emerged as the sole survivor. The experience left her with deep trauma, raising her young son Josh and staying far away from the military or politics. On what seems like a normal afternoon, Sarah and Josh enjoy a sunny day at the park. Laughter, sunshine, and playfulness until a helicopter suddenly flies overhead. The sound of its rotor slices through the air, triggering an intense flashback. Sarah freezes. In her mind, she's back in the middle of that ambush. Smoke, chaos, screaming. This brief moment tells us everything Sarah is still haunted by her past, and it's clear her trauma hasn't fully healed. Josh notices his mother's reaction, but she quickly regains composure. She brushes it off, smiles again, and they continue on. Soon after, Sarah makes a major decision. She can no longer live in the shadow of her past, surrounded by old memories, battle scars, and the ghosts of people she couldn't save. Germany, once her home, now feels like a battlefield of flashbacks. The only path forward, she believes, lies across the Atlantic. She wants to leave everything behind and start anew in the United States, a place where she can raise her son Josh in peace, free from the reminders of war. With quiet determination, Sarah schedules a visa interview at the US consulate in Frankfurt. It's not an easy decision, but she knows it's necessary. Josh is excited, asking questions about what America will be like. Will there be snow? Will they live near a park? Sarah smiles, holding back the weight of her emotions. For once, she feels a fragile sense of hope. She holds Josh's hand tightly as they walk toward the tall, imposing consulate building. Armed guards monitor the entrance. Cameras track every visitor. The air is clinical, sterile, and tense. They pass through security, metal detectors, and multiple ID checkpoints. Sarah presents her documents. Josh stays close, eyes wide, marveling at the large flags and polished floors. Inside, they're directed to a waiting area. A staff member offers Josh a chance to play in a nearby room filled with toys and books, built specifically to entertain children during long appointments. Sarah hesitates for a second, just a second, but ultimately nods. "Stay right here," she tells him gently. "I'll be back in just a few minutes." Time passes quickly. It couldn't have been more than 10 minutes. When she finishes, she walks back toward the playroom. But what she finds stops her cold. Josh is gone. At first, she thinks he might be hiding. Maybe under the table, maybe behind the toy shelves. She calls his name once, then louder. Nothing! Panic rises in her chest like a rising tide. She turns to the receptionist, heart pounding. She asks a staff member nearby if they'd seen her son. The reply left her cold. The staff didn't know who she was talking about. They firmly told her that no child had been checked in with her. Surveillance footage was pulled, and there it was, Sarah entering the building alone. No child by her side. Sarah's heart raced with panic and disbelief. She vividly remembered walking in with Joshua, holding his hand, hearing his excited chatter, reassuring him that everything would be okay. She knew he had been there, but the footage told another story. Refusing to believe the impossible, she contacted the German police. But she was told that because the consulate was considered American territory under international law, local police had no jurisdiction. Her desperation grew. When she called her mother, Anna, hoping for support, she was met with cold skepticism. Her mother implied that Sarah's PTSD had resurfaced and suggested she might be off her medication again. It wasn't the first time her reality had been questioned. The suggestion that her trauma was making her hallucinate hit hard, but she refused to accept it. When Sarah was asked to leave the consulate, something inside her ignited. If no one else would help her find her son, she would do it herself. Using her military training, she disappeared into the bowels of the building, slipping past security cameras, memorizing guard rotations. Her survival instincts took over. While exploring a utility corridor, she stumbled upon a hidden, locked room. What she found inside shocked her, a bruised, terrified woman who identified herself as Irina. She said she had been held against her while inside the consulate for almost 2 months. Irina didn't want money or revenge, she just wanted to get out. She had secrets, and Sarah had the skill set to navigate dangerous situations. They formed a pact. Ina would help Sarah find Joshua, and Sarah would help Ina escape the consulate. With Irina, Sarah started uncovering a web of corruption hidden beneath the official facade of the consulate. She discovered a stash of narcotics concealed in a storage room, evidence that criminal activity was taking place right under everyone's nose. She suspected that Joshua may have witnessed something he wasn't supposed to see. Her digging didn't go unnoticed. During a heated confrontation with Kinch, Sarah was attacked from behind, injected with a sedative, and rendered unconscious. When she awoke, her head was foggy, but her instincts remained sharp. She found herself face to face with Consul General Deborah Allen, who was flanked by guards. Deborah had been contacted by Sarah's mother, who told her that Sarah was mentally unstable and a threat to herself and others. The guards eyed her with pity, not respect. Once again, she was painted as a delusional veteran chasing ghosts. But Sarah wasn't broken, she was angry. She refused to let herself be gaslit and dismissed. In a moment of renewed clarity, Irina revealed her real name, Kira Vulova. Kira's father had been a dissident in Belarus, assassinated by his own government. Her mission was to reach Boston, where her mother waited, and release the information to the world. The data she carried had the power to bring down entire regimes. But there was another shocking revelation waiting for Sarah. The job offer that had brought her to the consulate, it was a trap, a carefully laid plan orchestrated by none other than Eric Kinch, her former comrade in Afghanistan. A few weeks earlier, a journalist had sent Sarah a video showing Kinch in a meeting with a known Taliban militant members of the same group that had ambushed her unit years ago. It all fell into place. Kinch had betrayed their team for money, and Sarah, as the only surviving witness, was a threat. He wanted her silenced. Now Sarah had no choice but to fight back. Her only mission to get to Boston, where her mother waited and from. There leaked the data to the world, but Sarah's story was more deeply entangled. Then she realized that the job offer from the U.S. security firm, a trap, a carefully orchestrated ruse to lure her into the consulate set up by none other than Kinch, her former comrade in Afghanistan. A journalist had sent Sarah a video weeks ago showing Kinch speaking with a known militant, the same group responsible for the ambush that left her unit dead, the dots connected. She helped Kira plan an escape route through France to the United States while she stayed behind to face Kinch head on. But she needed leverage. In a bold and risky move, she located and temporarily took Kinch's teenage daughter, Aileen. She brought her to a secure, fortified room inside the consulate, intending to use her as a bargaining chip to retrieve Joshua. But when she looked into the frightened girl's eyes, Sarah couldn't go through with it. Instead, she released Aileen unharmed and gave her a voice recorder. She then orchestrated a conversation with Kinch, carefully leading him to admit everything: his betrayal, his motives, the faked footage, and his role in Joshua's disappearance. It was all on tape. But the battle wasn't over. As she attempted to upload the confession, a violent showdown erupted. Sarah engaged in a firefight with Kinch and Sarah suffering a bullet wound. Bleeding and in pain, she pressed forward. She reached the consulate's command room, where Kinch was waiting. He was shocked to see her still alive, still fighting. She didn't hesitate. She disabled the consulate's internal security system and uploaded the recorded confession to the server. The transmission triggered alarms throughout the building, and guards rushed in. At the same time, Kinch was arrested on the spot. The evidence was irrefutable. Soon after, the chaos settled and Kinch was taken into custody. A search team swept through the consulate with fresh urgency and direction. With the primary source of obstruction now removed, it didn't take long for the team to uncover what Sarah had known in her heart all along: Joshua was still somewhere inside the consulate. After an intense search of every floor and restricted zone, he was finally found tucked away in a locked, soundproof room, buried in one of the most secure sections of the facility. The area was off limits to most staff and only accessible to a handful of trusted personnel. The discovery confirmed what Sarah had feared but never stopped believing. Everything had been orchestrated to make her question reality. From the altered security footage to the erasure of Joshua's records and the manipulation by consulate officials, it had all been part of a calculated and ruthless plan to make her doubt her own sanity. It wasn't just about discrediting her, it was psychological warfare meant to crush her resolve. But Sarah had refused to fall. She didn't crumble under the weight of lies. She didn't retreat when doors closed or when her character was attacked. Instead, she stayed the course, digging deeper, trusting her instincts and fighting with the same resolve that had carried her through war zones. She didn't just survive the deception, she unraveled it. 8 weeks later, Sarah, still healing from her injuries, sat aboard a flight to the United States. Joshua was by her side, his head resting on her shoulder. Before the plane took off, she made one final call: Kira had made it to Boston safely. The USB stick was now in the hands of people who could act on its contents. Kinch was facing charges in an American court, and Donovan, along with the man at the check-in desk who erased the records, had been arrested as co-conspirators. There were no cameras greeting her at the airport. No ceremonies, no flags. But Sarah didn't need that. She had her son. She had the truth. She had proven that courage wasn't just found on battlefields, but in the quiet, relentless determination to stand up when no one believes you. Sarah looked out the window, her eyes focused on the horizon. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning. And this time, she wasn't just surviving. She was moving forward stronger, wiser, and free from the shadows of betrayal.